Used properly, you can absolutely control your results because you'll be controlling your actions by controlling your emotions. And that's what the connections are for. They give you control over this part that drives this part of the circle. The thoughts and the belief systems, that's why it's a cycle and not just a straight line. Because when you get results, results start to impact your belief systems. And that changes your thoughts. So any point in the circle, you can start affecting change. You don't have to start at any one place. I start with emotional control because I think that that's the one thing that we get the least amount of instruction on growing up. Anybody ever throw a temper tantrum and get sent to your room? Did they tell you what to do when you got there? So we weren't taught how to have emotional control. We were just taught that some emotions were not socially acceptable for us to express. Anybody else remember ballpark rules? You know, the consistently applied was where I sort of ended with that story. In my household growing up, there were rules in this ballpark about emotions. And they were not the same for the children as they were for the grown-ups. So emotional control was something that we were expected to have way beyond what was role modeled. You know, the do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, it's don't lose your temper, don't slam a door, don't stomp upstairs. So there was not an ability to express an emotion appropriately, and what was modeled was not necessarily something that they really wanted me to repeat. So that schism is one of the things that led me into the work that I do, because I knew there had to be a better way. There had to be a better way, and unfortunately for my children, I didn't really come into figuring most of this stuff out until they were grown. So we're doing remedial, remedial emotional. But that's what got me into this, is because I came from a world where the ballpark was not sane. There was not a club owner in my household. There were, growing up when I was little, my dad was a drill sergeant. He was actually, I found out later that by the time I came along, he was no longer a drill sergeant. He was actually a medic. He was Special Forces Airborne attached to the Green Beret, jumping out of planes in Vietnam. His ability to relate to children was minimal, but he played. He was the one who, when somebody would have a birthday party, he would set up the games, and and he played cards, and so it was a very confusing image that I had, and emotional control was not his strong suit, except when he was in hunter mode in the military. But when he came home, those rules didn't seem to come with him. That level of control didn't show up. My mother, on the other hand, was a frustrated missionary because they met at missionary college. She ended up becoming a school teacher and then an administrator. She had the same strong personality traits that my dad did, and also the same challenges with a volatile temper. So it was a volatile household, and emotions were expressed by the grown-ups and not by the kids. I think that had they been able to teach me some emotional control, some healthier expressions of emotion, I wouldn't be in the work that I'm in. So I'm kind of grateful that they were who they were, but I didn't feel that way at the time. I was simply confused. So over the last week, if you had a chance to do any thinking about what are the rules of your ballpark or whose ballpark you're in, we're going to play with that a little bit more, because the rules are going to help you determine what are the right actions to take. So emotions, rules, actions, it all leads to the results. And what do you want? I didn't come up with a great example of what do you want out of the conversations that we've had or out of what was in the Facebook. So we can go with relationships. Do you want better relationships? Or we can go with something like an actions that would get you more clients. Yeah. So not having a clear, I got questions from both sides. So I'm going to just sort of take us on a walk. And we're going to walk a little bit this way through relationships, and we're going to walk a little bit this way how it plays into getting more clients.